Hello, hello, and welcome. This is the Marketing Mirror. I'm here today. excuse me. Sorry about that, guys. I ran in the room to check on the thing here, and I started coughing. Sorry about that. Lisa's here. I'm glad to see you, Lisa. And thank you guys for being here on our, I think it's 10th time in a row, maybe. I'm so excited to announce that we're at 10 lives. And it's a holiday weekend here in the USA, celebrating 250 years as a country. And I think that it would be great if we could be a singular country, all for one and one for all. That's our wish for this year. How are you, Jaime?
Good. Happy for the weekend. How are you doing?
Are you?
Yes.
Have a little fun time, maybe, huh?
Hopefully.
Well, without much ado today, because we are jumping into an important topic and we know you guys are ready to get out and play, I'm going to just throw our buddy Marketing Millie up to open the show and introduce the topic really quick. So here we go.
Building a kick-ass brand isn't a guaranteed grand slam, no matter how perfect your plan, how detailed, or how strategic. A widely understood perception of your brand depends largely on how the outside world sees you, rather than how you view yourself. Plus, developing your positive brand image is an ongoing proposition, definitely a long-term challenge. Brands with staying power evolve with changes in their businesses, customer needs, and industry climate. Cultivating a universally recognized brand presents challenges new to every business now. But don't worry, in today's episode of The Marketing Mirror, Sue-Ann and Jaime have the Minimalist plan to clarify your brand message for memorability and credibility. You'll love the easy pillars Jaime designed and the simplified steps she shares to snap your universal grand brand plan into play. Today's scoop for a minimalist blueprint to a 5-star brand presence brings you the easy keys to develop a brand voice that feels intentional, audience-aware, consistent, trustworthy, and human. Thanks as always for checking out the Marketing Mirror.
All right. Well, thank you to Marketing Millie for introducing our topic this week. She's always so put together. Love the outfit.
Another good job by Marketing Millie. She gets to the bottom line, right? Unlike me, who likes to twinkle around. But what I think what's interesting about branding for us to be talking about it today is that everything that we're doing with interest-driving content and creating series and thinking about maybe having some sidekicks like our trusty dog, in Lisa's case, her mascot to her brand, or having characters like we do with Marketing Millie, or trying to create campaigns that bring people along that, aren't just one and done type content. All of those things need to be blessed with that brand messaging or that brand recognition on top, right, Jaime?
Yes, absolutely. You need that consistency and the same presence every time you show up so you can build trust with your audience.
And that credibility through a consistent voice and clarity is going to mean so much. But we want to make it as simplified as we can. We don't have all day, every day to be doing these things. So we want to work on setting up a consistent brand plan. And that means having some guidelines and getting a hold of some of the most important parts of the issue of branding. So I'm going to jump on with our little display for today. Let me correct that slightly by making it a larger screen. I think that's what you guys like to see, or it's easier to see. I should put that actually in present mode also. There we go. Whoa, I'm catching on. Finally, I'm finally catching on. 10 weeks in, and it's a miracle. But it's really, really important that you look at it from a minimalist blueprint in our thinking, because you want to have a 5-star brand presence. And to get that 5-star brand presence, you need to be recognized and visible and understood as a brand, most importantly. And so this can all be a little bit tricky, so we have some guidelines. We want to bring through some clarity, we want to demonstrate credibility, and we want to show our humanness everywhere that you see your brand, out there, everywhere. So when we talk about making it basic, simple, minimal, we're not talking about becoming smaller or quieter or more generic. We're talking about becoming more intentional and recognizable in a consistent way. And what does that mean? Well, minimalist branding doesn't mean bare. It doesn't mean bare or blank, but it means focus, so that you can become consistently memorable because you have a focus that has brought out that clarity and gives people that precise expression of who you are. And it has to be recognizable to everyone in the same way. So it's really tricky, even more so in the current marketing landscape, to really convey a mutual understanding of who you are as a brand. And but that's the important bridge that you have to build. Do you want to add anything here, Jane, before I move on?
No, I think that was good.
I like to just get it started, and then Jane can get into the nitty gritty for you, because she has done, and that's one of the first things that we're going to share with you as a link. She's done a series that helps you with this blueprint, so that you understand how important that focus is on proclaiming and understanding and communicating what your brand is, and doing it with clarity, making it as clear as possible in everyone's mind, whether it's internal audiences or external audiences. And when you could do it consistently, you become recognizable, and that all of that together is going to make your brand get trustworthy, and people will trust it. So, you know how we did the filters over the story with flavor? We had story flavor that we talked about, where you kind of take that mask over every piece of content to see if you have a component of a beginning, middle, and end, and some of the things that offer the flavor of story to your piece of content. Any piece, really. We made it real simple with 3 steps. This would be 5 elements that do something similar when you're reviewing anything that relates brand information. And really, everything should have brand on top of it, as we said. But you want to make sure, is it clear? Is it consistent? Is it credible? And is it personal, but not personal like in an icky personal way, but in a professionally personal way? And is it human? Because everybody wants to work with a human, not with a brand. You know, when you go to places, or when you, I guess, support businesses, do you know, you might notice, if you think about this, you go, when you think, where am I going to go? You go to a place that you feel comfortable. And what makes you feel comfortable when you go somewhere? It's usually the people, right? It's the
Yes.
people. Like, you go to your favorite restaurant or coffee shop or whatever because you like the people there treat you well. They say good morning. They know your coffee after once or twice.
Mm-hmm.
The people are what is making it, more so than the brand, than the bigger brand, the bigger company. So part of your brand is always going to be that frontline human contact, I think.
Yes. It's the best part of being a regular somewhere.
Yeah, Norm. Everybody knows your name, right?
Exactly.
So I actually took Jamie's series that she's been doing, and we'll give you a link to that in just 1 second. And these are the keys that it came up with, and which I think are fantastic to give you these 5 pillars for a 5-star brand presence. The first one is to change your mindset, and we'll talk about these. The second one is to know your audience, but how do you do that? That's sometimes tricky. And then tune up your tone. What is tone? How do you establish a tone? And we want you to get personal, but like a pro, because you don't want to be, you know, you still getting personal doesn't mean losing the polish. Let's put it that way. And then, of course, we always want to have that human first because people do buy from people. So first, you have to change your mindset. Do you want to take this away, James, and tell us some of about that?
Absolutely. When I started putting this series together, I kind of reflected on my experiences with clients, people I've worked with, a lot of brands that I have seen online. And disclaimer, I do work with a lot of B2B companies, and I have throughout my career. But my first the first thing you really have to do is change your mindset, because so many businesses and brands still look at social media as a one-way communication, like a press release, or it's a broadcast mechanism. It's what they're used to, it's what they've been doing for years. I've actually had conversations with companies where they'll say something like they want to throw a flyer up on their Facebook page. They almost look at it as online storage. And that's why you have to take a step back and really look at your mindset and how you approach social media. It's absolutely not a one-way communication. You see brands try to set up accounts for their executives or their CEO, and they don't respond to anyone, and it generally doesn't go over well, because that's not what people want on social media. So keep that in mind whenever you're looking at your social media strategy and your content strategy and how you want to use this space. You have to understand what people want out of it. So first you have to change your mindset and understand that it is a conversation. It's a two-way communication mechanism. It's not a broadcast situation. So that's number one, because that's going to affect everything that you do moving forward.
And there are still a lot of old brands or bigger companies that haven't flattened out. They're still sort of vertical.
Yes.
And they haven't flattened out where they've moved away completely from operating mode and broadcasting mode to connection mode and social listening, which we can talk about more. But here's
Yeah.
another thing I think that affects this is that the marketplace has changed.
Mm-hmm.
So the you used to be able to, the reason that broadcasting was so easy to do and was what everybody did with their advertising and marketing and how they offered their branding was to tell you what it is, to broadcast what it was, because there was no choice. There was only so many channels. There was a kind of a captured audience, if you will. People had no choice but to see,
Right.
what you put out there, because you had three channels to watch when I was yeah, that's not
Yeah.
giving it away again. But yeah, so because broadcasting media and of course the invasion of digital marketing and all the things digital have come into play, social media being the hugest of all, it's turned brands and corporations and big businesses on their head, because guess what? The customer's talking back to you. You
Yeah.
have to hear them. They're going to tell you, they're involved with you. They want an answer from you, and they want an answer now. They want that two-way conversation. You have no choice, right?
Especially they're talking to you in a public forum. So make sure you better listen to what they're saying and address their issues. And we're going to jump into this a little bit later, but it's how you respond to people is part of your marketing efforts. So this is huge, and it kicks off everything else. And I know it can be a hard sell to the C-suite. I understand that. I've been there. But this is really where everything starts. And the rest of what we're going to talk about today flows out of here. You really do need to change your mindset, because if you're still in broadcast mode, you're wasting your time. I'll say it, like you're wasting your time, and that's not what social media is for. So,
It's really a shift of power, ladies and gentlemen. It's a shift of power
mhm,
away from the business and into the hand of the consumer or the customer, the client, whichever it might be.
yes.
And that's the power shift is the latest marketing equation. So, and that's been happening for a while now, but it's more imperative now than ever with with AI added into the mix. I would think, right, James?
Yes, absolutely.
So I think that part of shifting your marketing mindset means tightening your core direction and these other things that we're getting into. It means instilling a positive company culture as part of your branding process because, again, your branding needs to be understood internally, externally, and by any stakeholders. Even your vendors should know what you've got going on and what you're about because them knowing and understanding your mission, your vision, your values, your brand is going to make them able to assist you with with the services that you use, what what you purchase, how you purchase your tools. Those vendors are going to understand you better and understand your needs when they also have a clear vision of what you are and what your brand is. So it even extends that far. Um, I'd say it's not even a choice anymore in today's continually moving business and technology landscape.
It's not. That's the first thing you have to do, so you can move forward with building your brand in the digital space. And that really starts with knowing your audience.
And
And
that one's a tough one. I'm going to just
yeah,
throw that out there before you even start talking. This one's a tough one. I know for me, I get confused on this still to this day. I don't know if it's my fault, James, because my audience is like my market, my client is so all over the place. I
yeah.
find that it's hard to target as well as I should. I struggle with this a little bit myself, but you're going to give us some tips to help make it easier. Go ahead.
Yes, absolutely. It is tough. We The hard part is finding the through line. We're so set on studying demographics, and that's been a part of marketing for years, but psychographics and buying behavior is really more important than demographics. So, how people interact with your brand or brands in general, how they buy, what their lifestyle is, that's where you can really find through lines that tie your audience together. Even if they do seem very different at first, there's usually something or multiple things that tie them together. Whether it's whether it's working moms or Gen Z who are working in an office environment, or whatever your target audience is, it helps to understand them so that you can meet their needs. Plus, you can target your content when you know who you're making your content for. You can create content that's a lot more relevant to them instead of just being general, because the more general it is, it may not resonate with anyone. It has to be relevant to people. People tend to tune into content that is relevant to them, that they see themselves in, whether it's, oh, hey, I've had that same experience, or I understand what you're talking about when this frustration. It's relevant to them. They see themselves in it, and they pay attention to it. And
Absolutely. Absolutely.
that leads directly into the people who see themselves in your content. They are your ideal customer. And it's your ideal customer, it helps to create an ideal customer, especially with psychographics or buying behavior. And this is where buyer personas come in, and there's been a lot of discussion about those, and they're kind of controversial. But don't default to simple demographics. Like, really look at someone's lifestyle and buying behavior. But it does help to have an ideal customer in mind so that you can take a deep dive and really understand your audience, what they're experiencing, what their challenges are, and how you can help them address those. But be open to that may change either over time, the marketplace may shift, or your brand may unlock a new opportunity. So many brands have created products or services specifically for a certain customer, and that ends up not being who uses it. It takes off, and another type of customer comes in and uses it for something that you weren't even aware of. So be open to that. Keep your eyes open for.
I love that. I love the concept that you're that aware and in tune with what your audience or customer or client has going on, that you understand their thinking. This is one of the things I think is the toughest for businesses and business owners to do. And I know when I work with clients, I startle them when I step into experiencing, say, their website or content or whatever, when I'm looking at it, when I'm taking the overview of, what are they doing and how and why. They're surprised how other people actually experience their content and what they do or don't understand, because they have an understanding themselves. It's in there so deeply, in them knowing who they are, what they do, how they do it, that they don't realize that the customer is actually seeing, hearing, and experiencing a completely different thing. So it's really imperative, I think, in part of trying to determine who your ideal customer is and what their feelings are, their pain points, and all that, that you really try to be objective. And maybe you need to go directly to people that you work with. You need to go directly to anyone in your company who deals directly with a customer to get their background and feedback. You go to your Q&A, you go to your complaint department. You really have to, because I think when CEOs do this a lot, business owners do this a lot, they are so sure and focused and understanding of their own business and company that they don't get that objective perspective. I know I've surprised more than one client when I've said, well, here's what I get when I look at that or read that or come into that page. And that, I don't think that's what you want, but I'm telling you, as a first time looker at your site or your writing or whatever the project is, here's my take. And I might just be like everyone else. And they're like, what? We saw it this way. But they're so clouded with what they already know that they don't really understand what they're putting out there. Do you see that? Do you have that sometimes?
Oh, absolutely. And that's why it's so important to talk to your audience and to get that communication and feedback and to listen. You mentioned earlier, listening is so important today, to hear what they're saying and not just hear what you want to hear. That's critical. And I did just want to make two more points before we move on from this. It says list not your customer profile, because that can help you narrow down who your ideal customer is. We're not talking about intentionally excluding people. Anybody can use your products or services. It's just trying to narrow down who you're specifically targeting to make your content more personal. And that helps you learn their language. I always say, people say, oh, don't use jargon, it's not jargon if it's the language of your audience. So if you're dealing with a technical audience, or you know who your audience is, and whether it's medical professionals or IT folks or whatever it is, if they use specific terms and language, using those in your content is not jargon. The people who you're talking to will understand that. So, two things just to clarify. It's people like to use buzzwords, and that's usually not a good thing. You really have to narrow down and know who you're speaking to.
I
Everything
think
goes
that
from
is
there.
so. I love that you said that. Um, Also, the thing about not who's not your customer, in some cases, it works really well if you say you're an exclusive brand, a high end brand. You don't want to be having a lot of tire kickers that aren't your audience. So that's another way that you want to focus on who you actually serve. And,
Yes.
it's great to have traffic, but not if it's not meaningful traffic, too. So that's part of that equation as well, I think.
Absolutely. Yes, I was actually working with a brand on a brand refresh, speaking to exactly what you said, Sue Ann. And the CEO said, they said, we want to talk to your customers to better understand what your current brand is and how people see you in the marketplace. And the CEO said, oh, I can tell you what they think. That's that's a
Red flag, red flag. Woo,
you
woo,
need to,
woo.
that's a red flag right there. You need to step back, and you don't necessarily know what other people think. You think you do, and that can be part of the problem. So you really have to be open to what your
It's
customers actually think or the marketplace actually thinks, and that can be scary because you can't control it.
it's almost like when I talk about creativity and allowing other people to be included in the process by allowing them to state and have ideas. The culture that you offer is, people might have the greatest ideas, but they'll never tell you them because they're afraid to speak up. They've known that their input wasn't accepted or wanted. And it's the same thing here. If you have your mindset set that you know who your client is, but you never really talk to them or you didn't talk to any frontline workers will innovate you like crazy. The people who are working on, say, your equipment or your processes or your apps or your whatever tools you use in business, those people will know where the bottlenecks are, where the problems are. And so you also have an internal audience that can help clarify this. If you go to customer service, if you go to the complaint department, go to Helen Waite, the complaint department. Go to Helen Waite. No, I'm kidding. Helen Waite. That's an old joke. But yeah, it's tough. You got to get in their head. What do they want? What do they fear? What do they resist? What language do they trust? And you touched on that already. That's a biggie. I think
Yes.
that's a real biggie because, when we talk in professional jargon and it's not like everyone's doing it, then you're being corporatese, which we'll be talking about soon. But that's a big thing, I think.
Yeah, your to prove your point there, your frontline workers and the people dealing with your customers are much more the face of your company than the CEO will ever be. People need to understand that because whoever people are dealing with on behalf of your brand, that is the face of your brand. So take that seriously and stand behind and give your frontline workers, your customer service reps, your whoever the support and resources they need because they are building your brand or tearing it down every single day.
Also, the fact that your goal in building your brand and creating your brand and communicating your brand, your goal should be that everybody gets it, right? Everybody
Yes.
actually gets it. And that is a big ask. That's a really big ask. So when you're assessing yourself, I couldn't get that word out. When you're assessing yourself as a brand, don't forget to look at your business capital. There was just an article in Fast Company that was a great reminder of your business capital. Sure, it's financial capital, sure. But maybe it's not. Maybe you're starting up and you don't have a lot of financial capital. But what you do have is two other important, very important things that enter into your mindset and enter into your knowing your audience. But it's social capital. Do you have social capital? Today, that is huge. And my
Yes.
fave, of course, is your knowledge capital. And that is the talents and abilities and skills of your people. That
Yes.
knowledge capital might be your crowning capital, in my humble
Yes.
opinion.
When we're talking about knowing your audience, we are talking about internal and external. People undervalue internal marketing. Your team, if you have employees or people working with you, you need to be on the same page. They need to understand your brand because they are interacting with customers and they're representing your brand. So do not sleep on internal marketing. Know your team as well and deep dive into that and understand what makes them tick so that you can all be pulling in the same direction
Yeah,
in
you'll
building.
find out when you do that that you'll start to learn different strengths and talents among your team, and then you can help let them shine, which does good for you, but also does good for them because they usually shine in things they like to do. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
you're matching your talent with a happiness level. There's more to business than financial capital, also happiness capital in the people that you not only serve and work with, but also the people that are inside your own organization. Boy, I know that one really well, having hired people for many years.
Hmm.
The other thing is that if you do listen to your customers, if you do ask them questions, if you do pay attention to what you don't even have to ask a lot of times, they just tell you. They write to
Hmm.
you, they send you notes, they send you thank yous, they whatever, and they tell you this is what they like about you, or this is what you do different than anybody else that they've used for this type of business or service or product. They will really spell it out, but you won't get that message if you're not paying attention to it.
Yes.
So you have to like learn to relate to their struggles with complete understanding, which again means being objective about some things, I think.
And it's also a great opportunity to expand or to grow your business when you hear what people love about your business, what they feel, makes you you. That may open up an opportunity to expand into something related to that to take off and really grow your business. So be open to that. And
Go ahead.
uh, then that leads directly into our third pillar, which
That's what
is
I was going to say. Our third pillar, the tone. The thing about the tone is that it does directly relate to that previous side of your client customer understanding them, because I think that your tone and your voice directly play off of that understanding. Would you agree?
yes. Yeah, because it's partially determined by what you do, what industry you're in. You're creating a personality for your brand that actually matches your company. Everyone thinks it's cool when there's some company online who is incredibly snarky or people like to be humorous. That's all well and good as long as it fits what you do. I mean, there's specific areas who can get away with the snarkiness. Humor is a good thing as long as it fits your industry. Are you playful? Are you curious? Are you conversational? But don't just it's not the place to try to go on and get back at people. You have to be very careful about who is representing your brand on social and what they're saying on your behalf. Your business will be off.
And if they can spell.
Yeah, 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 because if you're positioning yourself as a, luxury brand or a higher end brand and you're repeatedly making whether spelling errors or it's your content doesn't live up to that, that's going to hurt your positioning in the marketplace. It's every action you take, everything you do, including your content, represents your brand. So
I love this first line.
your tone
Oh,
is
my
yes, yeah, your
brand
tone is
skills brand.
very
That's
important
my
to
favorite.
establish consistency. It's if you're showing up in different places with radically different tones, it's going to feel a bit unhinged. You're, people are like, wait a second, who are you? This is
I'm
wild.
the unhinged brand over here.
Yeah, chaotic.
Can't
Um,
recognize me anywhere. That's the kind of brand I want to be.
yeah.
We bring you the unhinged brand.
But it's just, you really have to sit down, and it does need to match your company. If it's you as an individual, you really you can match your personality as long as it's appropriate for your brand. But when it's a company with multiple people in it, it really does need to represent your company, because if people are interacting with you online and then they show up and interact with your company in person and it's a completely different experience, it's unsettling. That tone needs to really extend online and off across your content. Your team needs to understand that. So it's a
It
lot
just
more.
occurs to me, is this something that we should be thinking about in here too, which I didn't think about till just right now, and we've been working on this, but it just hit me in the head. So should you also be evaluating where you're comfortable, like what's about you, like what you're comfortable, like even in like the kind of content formats you decide to focus on, or like what kind of personality you feel your brand should be displaying or conveying.
Yeah, it
Um,
feeds directly into a lot of what you do. It can determine what kind of content you're creating, where you're showing up.
what your values are.
So it's just make sure that you think about that. I don't think a lot of people think about their tone of voice. That needs to be a part of your brand guide. It's not just the visuals, it's your brand voice and your tone and how you show up. So you definitely need to include this and to actually sit down and think about it. And if there are multiple people, have a conversation. Talk about how your brand would show up, what kind of personality your brand has. It's not goofy. It can really take you far in terms of your consistency, what your tone of voice sounds like, what you don't want to be. And that can help you. And it's not just your content, it's how you interact with customers or your audience. You,
You know,
if,
you're
if
making me think again, James. Yikes! One more question than I would ask about here. Uh, um, if you think about your tone, like I wonder if it has one, like how do you get that one steady, you really need that one steady, I guess that's comes naturally, like who you are is that one steady strand of how you conduct business. But I'm starting to think about like other ways to figure this out. Like for example, in writing, years ago, my friend Sharon Hurley Hall, who I've had on the show before, talked about like figuring out your writing ticks. And so they would become part of like the don'ts in your tone guide, possibly, so that you know that you have a bad habit of using the word great. And
yes,
everything that you write is you write the word, this tool is great, these people are great, or everybody's an
yeah,
amaze ball, or whatever was
we
people
all
were
have
saying amaze
those.
balls for a while.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, whatever you find that's that tick might be things that you list on the don'ts. When I do verbal content like talking on the show, I'm trying to be cognizant of and eliminate my ums. That might be a don't in my tone guide. I don't know, do those things fit in here? They just hit me right now.
Yeah, because your tone should extend across everywhere you show up, in person, online, even in, like when you're speaking, when you're in writing, just to be as consistent as possible. And that's not boring. That's actually, it helps build trust with your audience. People feel like they know who you are. It helps you develop relationships. And that, again, leads directly into it leads directly into our next pillar, which is, when I first set out to film this video, I was looking at a different, I was really going to set it up as, do you establish a corporate brand or a personal brand? But once I thought it through, you really should establish a corporate brand, even if you are a solopreneur. There are a lot of benefits to establishing that brand. It builds your professionalism. It changes the viewpoint of people working with you. It takes you from being a freelancer to a small business to an actual brand, and it kind of elevates your presence in the marketplace. It adds some authenticity to you as a business. But people say, oh, corporate brands, they're so boring, and they don't have to be. You can still get personal through a corporate brand, and you can also still build a personal brand while you're doing it. But there are so many benefits to establishing that corporate brand to really showcase what you do and set yourself up for possible future growth and expansion. So I mentioned corporate brands do not have to be boring. You can still show personality. You can showcase your brand values, not just talk about them, but show them in action. You can spotlight people around you, whether it's your team, your business partners, collaborators, anybody you work with. Show behind the scenes, show your process, be transparent. It helps add a personal touch to a corporate brand. So don't worry about being super buttoned up. You can be professional and still show personality and be human. So it's not, I know corporate brands kind of have a bad rap because a lot of times they are super boring and have no personality, but they don't have to be. That's just how people have approached them previously.
I
So
have
that's,
a perfect little fit for this, if you don't mind me interjecting. So I was checking out Tim Solo, who a lot of you guys might know. I've been connected with him. I think I connected with him originally like 12 years ago or something, but he's doing really big work. I'll tell you where in one sec because that's part of the story. And he was being interviewed by Neville Medora, one of my copywriting heroes that I pay a lot of attention to. And um, he said that they created one of their biggest series and campaigns by asking people, their customers from around the world. He did this through LinkedIn. He asked them, how do you pronounce the name of the company? Because everybody pronounced it differently, he realized, and around the world they pronounced it differently. And personally, I've pronounced it 2 or 3 ways myself. But what they did is they recognized this issue, and he put this call out on LinkedIn to, connections and followers and friends and colleagues. How do you pronounce the name of the company? And he got a flood of, 30 or 40 or 50 videos back with people in 30 countries or more saying how they pronounced Hrefs, not Ahrefs, not it's Hrefs, and they did
Hrefs.
a whole branding thing around the story of nobody knows how to pronounce it, and
That's
I thought it was
hilarious.
just genius because
Yeah.
they actually went out there and they talked. They had so they got a lot of good user generated content right there, right?
Hmm.
Because they had people actually from talking about haha, this is how I pronounce it, I'm right, aren't I? And sending in crazy videos which they could showcase and use. They had they interviewed people, they did a huge blog post about it, which of course, since they're the king of SEO and search, they and query, they actually were able to like really kick ass with getting it out there. And of course they did cross-platform promotion of the whole thing, and it kind of became a whole thing which is a great campaign, a series. It's a
Yeah.
series, it's a story, it's about the company's brand, but not really talking about the brand but
Yeah.
totally talking about the brand. I think it's genius. What do
It
you
is.
guys
It's
think?
fantastic. Yeah, Lisa
Href.
said she always stumbles on that word. So do I. That's a great reminder that,
Oh, Lisa, I'm
like,
not
how to
seeing the
pronounce their
comment up
name. Hey,
there.
it's
Oh, here it
branding.
is.
How you pronounce your company name is part of your brand. That's fantastic.
And what they did in another case, because brands are how you get found. We knew this. We've heard this before. I have a chart, but I want to take down the. I don't want to take down the slide share right now, but I have a chart from his conversation with Nev that says that 50, almost 50% of searches originate from a branding searches
Yes.
related to your brand. So if you want to be seen, heard, cited, found in AI, found in SEO, because both are sort of relevant, it's all mixed together now, you need to think about how to make your branded content stand out. And what's interesting, and I don't know if you guys ever thought this way, but when you're searching for, like, how do I change a setting on my iPhone, you're actually doing a branded query,
Yes.
right? So
Yep.
there, you look up brands more often than you think. But then he says, how do people know to look for you or your brand? Well, that's where social media comes in, Tim says. And he says social media isn't really the same SEO or AIO or all that value as other things are. He doesn't actually count that in SEO, which I also found fascinating. But he said that to build that brand, to get those searches, you better be out there on cross platforms, building a consistent brand story, using, promotional content, using serious content, bringing people in, all the things. So I thought that was fascinating. And another thing, Lisa, you'll love this, and writers will love this. Another thing he did to bring something to a top position and showcase his brand was through data analysis. I know, weird, right? So he looked at his keyword that we're getting, and he had one. They had a keyword search for something, but it was very small volume for them. It was a very small volume. Like, I'm going to say, I forget what he said, but I think it was like 25 a month. I mean, a small volume of searches. But they decided, hey, we're the only one who does whatever this search is. We're the only one who has this page or tool or whatever it was. I forget again. I didn't forget it. I have it all written down, but I'm on a crazy week. So, what the bottom line is, though, they decided to take that minimal search item and give it some love, shake it up a little bit, and build it out more to get more keyword reach and recognition. And they built a landing page based on that so that anyone looking for that keyword query would automatically end up on their landing page, bringing people in. The whole thing worked beautifully. And what it was is capitalizing on your brand, but through an unoptimized, you know, kind of data driven, but something that needed picked up, and they could pull it up and make it a central brand campaign. I thought that was another good story.
Oh, it's fantastic because they recognized even something wasn't extremely high volume, it was unique to them. It's a great thing to run with and to feature anytime you do something that other people don't. Push that out there. Like, go run with that. It sets you apart from your competition. But we've talked a lot about. I love that. Don't sound machine made. It's okay to show personality, even with your corporate brands. People crave that. They want to know who they're working with. They want to enjoy who they're working with. So you don't have to fall into some of the mistakes that people have made in the past. It's not necessary. Corporate brands do not have to be boring. And that leads us directly into the final
How
pillar.
about that? Smooth as silk, my girl.
Yes. And this is what I said in the video, even in the age of AI, human led marketing wins. And that does not mean you can't use AI. We use AI. It's a tool, it's a great tool to help create content, boost your brand, but make sure it's human led. Show, yeah, I mentioned earlier, show who you are, show your brand values in action, show your team members, spotlight the people behind your brand so that your audience and your customers know who you're working with. It'll help build trust with your audience, it'll help build loyal customers and turn them into brand advocates. So make sure to always spotlight your people in addition to what you do, but make sure that when you're even when you're using AI, and we've talked a lot about AI and it's fantastic and you can do a lot of incredible things with it, but make sure that you're not outsourcing your thinking, that you're not outsourcing, you're the one leading the strategy and leading the charge and making sure, I've jumped on a couple of AI trends, but I took the time to make sure that they fit my brand. Whether it was the action figure that I took time to turn into something that actually fit my brand, or the show you working in your workplace. That was not a simple prompt. That was a whole working through a process and then doing further editing in Canva to make sure they fit the brand. Don't just create generic content that doesn't fit you, because it doesn't help build your brand and it doesn't do anything for you.
I think you do some great creative stuff with even your own brand,
Thank
James.
you.
I love like when you're on a swing out on a swing and you love the outdoors, so you often
That was
do.
so fun. That's that was a
You're
cool
never too
idea.
old for swinging, I'm just gonna say.
That was
I
such a
mean,
cool.
swinging on a swing, any of you bad people out there.
Yeah, that was fun. That was for 330 Day. It's our area code here in Akron and Northeast Ohio, and our the Greater Akron Convention and Visitors Bureau and the city of Akron went in and created this day, and they encouraged people to post pictures and showcase your love of the 330, and there was a tremendous response, and that's something you can do for your brand. It helped, build our community, strengthen relationships with our audience. I thought it was a fantastic idea, and I definitely jumped on that.
That's so cool. Another exact instance of also crossing over from real life to digital life and making them mix and really having the human contact tact, the connection making, the relationship building, going from real events into the digital space to expand it. I think it's so great. And it makes it so that, it shares beyond, people who could make it to something. I like that, Like I love traveling with Ryan Biddulph and all his travels because it takes me places maybe I wouldn't get to go. I was so fascinated, for example, when he was in Oman, living in like the side of a hill in a cave,
Yeah.
and his world is all about blogging and talking about blogging, which is fantastic, but it's also interwoven with adventures and stories of his travels, his real world travels, and it
Yes.
lets you, the viewer, the reader, the consumer of his work, go places that you wouldn't have gone, experience and understand things that you wouldn't have understand because other cultures are so different, and it's so fun to learn about them.
Absolutely.
And so we don't, as we said, want to let AI take over or impersonate us. Listen, if you haven't watched our first live, which of course
Yes.
had some shaky parts with my
That's all right.
working.
The
It
message
but
got through.
talked about the brain and how we don't want to lose our brain to mush of the machine, if you will. We don't
Yes.
want to just hand it over. And there's actually physiological, biological research studies by MIT and Carnegie Mellon. I always want to say CMU because that's local for me, but Carnegie Mellon's doing some incredible things in that space. This is me. This is my quote. AI is a tool, not an answer, and people have really liked that because that's the truth. So always maintaining your point of view, and the old kindergarten lesson. Let's keep that in mind for over the weekend. All you people celebrating, treat others as you want to be treated comes to mind for me. My silly James. I
Yes.
threw that on her work. Sorry, guys.
No, but definitely, showcase your experiences, your point of view. But stop and think, do I need to post something? That's, before you post it. It's remember that for this weekend. Oh, we keep jump. There we go.
I know what it is. It's the old think before you ink situation, whether that
Yes.
ink is digital or not, or whether it's otherwise on your body,
Yes,
whatever. Think
that's a
before you ink.
fantastic analogy because it's a lot more permanent than you think. When you post something online, it always exists somewhere, even if you remove it. So just remember that. Just think about it before you do it, but absolutely keep in mind the pillars that we talked about today, and don't overcomplicate it, but keep these in mind. They're important to not only build your brand but also establish your brand voice and show consistency and show up with the same presence so you can build relationships with your audience. But this is fantastic. It isn't about being loud and yelling. We're past that era. It's about being clearer and showing who you are and building a consistent brand that is relevant to people. You find your tribe, build your community, and build your brand in the process. So, thank you so much to everyone who tuned in today on a holiday weekend. And I'm sure we'll have more people coming in later with the replay, and that's awesome. But we're glad you
Yes,
swung
either
by.
way, whether you're here now or on the replay, please leave your comments. Please let us know what you think.
Yes.
Please check out some of the other videos. I think we had a series of 3 that I think really were fantastic pieces of work, and I don't ever say that about my own work. But I think working with Jaime, we brought out some really great stuff over a 3 series when we were talking about interest driving content, for one, and
Yes.
how to part 2 was like taking it further and building that, how to actually build that, and then painting it with story. We had some great guests already with Lisa Sicard talking about Pinterest, and we can do a check back on that case study in the future. Also, Eileen Smith, who offered to give us a part 2 for more questioning.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've been having a great show. Thank you, Lisa, for the happy 4th of July, 250th. You already had fireworks up there. Did I see that
I
on
know.
social?
They're going crazy.
Isn't that wild? Yeah, they had.
That's
Well,
awesome.
I think I saw on her social one of the companies up there donated like $100,000 for extra
Yes, that's
fireworks, and
fantastic.
was it her that had painting on the
I
streets?
think so. Yep. Yep. They're
Lisa,
going all
you're
out.
a 4th of July red, white, and blue. Yep, she said
Yeah.
yes, we did. It's all of those guys. She's in Maine, ladies and gentlemen, up in New England in Maine. She's actually pretty close to the Canadian border. We love Lisa, her sidekick Stella, and we wish all of you a wonderful holiday.
Yes.
And
Stay
thanks for your
safe.
time, James.
Stay safe, be smart, have fun, enjoy celebrating, and we hope you keep tuning in with us every
We'll
Friday.
please see you next week. Thank you.
Happy 200.